Well, hello there, Eden Army. Nope, no Pete tonight. He is still somewhere between Honduras and Miami, last known. He's touched base with me a couple times over the week. We got a lot of people already in chat. This is your big surprise. Pete left the country and left me to deal with the nut house. So let's see. Terry is always in the house. We had a great conversation prior. Let's see who else is in there. Bullshit, Mama Teresa. I see Guy in the house, and we'll see who else pops in. We got a lot of interesting stuff tonight. Not necessarily news wise, but we'll got a lot of things going on with all of our tribe, and we'll get to that here in a few minutes. Let's wait to see if anybody else decides to pop in before we get moving. So, can you guys see this over on Kick? Are you guys seeing the podcast? Thinks we might have some technical difficulties here. Uh-oh. I know it's going out over Facebook, and must not have set it up right. So, who do I have over on Okay. So, we're going to just keep trying here. If everyone would go ahead and move to either Facebook or YouTube, and we'll just keep rolling. I'm not sure exactly what is wrong with the Kick channel. Pete said that he was going to fix that prior to leaving, and obviously he didn't. Hello, Terry. Hi, Mom. I see you guys over there on Facebook. Oh, and now I'm on Kick. Okay, awesome. Maybe it ain't totally broke. Let's look here. Oh, yeah, there we are. Okay. Crisis averted, folks. Crisis averted. I feel better now. I was going to be like, holy cow, I'd have to kill Pete. Well, guys, this is your surprise. I'm rolling solo tonight. Be gentle with me, as it is the first time I've been here solo. But we're going to go ahead and get into the show. We got a lot to discuss. First thing we'll talk about, of course, is the Return to Eden. Of course, that's February 21st through the 23rd. If you haven't already sent me an email at russellsawyer@myyahoo.com, please send me a email, number one, letting us know that you're attending. And number two, if you want to order a t-shirt, what size you want, and I'll send you your payment information. So the other big news that we have, and y'all saw it probably earlier today on Facebook, Eden Army is now live on Audible. Popped out today. So good news. You can scan the QR code. Go ahead, get it ordered. I know Guy has already said he's ordered, and he's probably up to about chapter 6 or 7 by now, if he stopped at all. So make sure you guys take care of that. Let's see what else we got. Got a couple of things. Let's do this one. You guys have seen the promo, but there's some news. We're going to run this promo real quick, and you guys will catch the news while you're looking.
From the best-selling author Franklin Horton comes this new installment in his borrowed world, Locker 9, Mad Mick Universe. Willie grew up outside of Damascus, Virginia, and life was never easy for her. She's a hard-as-nails single mom who struggles to make ends meet with little support and few opportunities. She's also the community rescue mom, taking in young people with no other place to go. All this while dodging an ex-boyfriend turned stalker, who also happens to be a cop. Willie only made it to adulthood by being resilient. That toughness, combined with a series of odd jobs and side hustles, helps keep her unorthodox family afloat. All those qualities will be tested when a terror attack leaves the nation in an indefinite blackout, and life suddenly becomes even harder. On top of it, the conflict between Willie and her ex-boyfriend is escalating, and this time, neither of them is willing to back down.
Pre-order Willie Book 1 in the Defeated Creek series. Available on Amazon this November 27th. Get it now.
And there you have it. Talked to my good friend, our good friend, everybody's favorite hillbilly, Franklin Horton, today. And this morning, it was not available. And he said it probably wouldn't be till next week sometime. And then lo and behold, right before we started tonight, he sent me a text message saying, hey, it's ready to go. And Patrick, I'm glad to hear that you're going to be at Mountain Readiness. You're going to have a great time. And speaking of Mountain Readiness, don't forget, guys, you can go ahead, pre-order your tickets now. Early bird pricing is in effect. Again, scan the QR code up in the upper right-hand corner, and we will get you ordered. If you're camping on site, follow the links to the camping once you get to the Mountain Readiness website. So what else do we have here? Oh, speaking of books, Survivalist Sam Saves the Day is now available on all formats and anywhere books are sold. For those of you that caught Angry Americans podcast last night with Kermit Jones, you know this book's got a lot of Easter eggs in it. I'll have to get a copy of it and count all the Easter eggs, and maybe we will do some type of a giveaway if everybody can find them all. But like Chris mentioned last night on the podcast, we shared the wealth when it came to the Easter eggs. We mentioned Mountain Readiness. We mentioned Angry American. We mentioned the Eden Army folks. We just try to share the wealth. And lastly, I believe, before we get into the news and go down the rabbit hole, guys, let's do this one first. Alan Kay Survival, January 17th through the 19th. Angry American and Angry Mel will be there. And this is going to be a heck of a class. It's basically bring what you got, and you're going to work through it for 3 days. They're at Mountain Readiness in a controlled environment. I cannot stress enough how good this class will be. Right now, there's still plenty of seats available. Go ahead out there and grab your tickets. And lastly, y'all saw this. The Dalton is now available. Believe it or not, we've had to pick up in sales since we actually have them in our greedy little hands. They're actually sitting in the room over there. Great knife. Scan the code, and we'll go from there. So, let's see here. Just a tad bit nervous, guys. Yes, NC Scout will be there. He's teaching a class the day prior, on that Thursday prior. I don't know if I have enough bourbon to make it through the night, but we will find out. Will's, I see Will's in the house. Will, we called you the other day and hadn't heard back from you. Glad to hear you're still recovering and doing well. I'll try to give you a call tomorrow. Why am I so nervous, Patrick? Because I don't have anybody here but me. So just a little nervous. First time running solo. And let's go ahead. I'm going to run a little clip. Did you guys see that Mitch McConnell fell just this past week? It looks like he sprained his wrist. What else happened? Cut above his eye. So we're going to run this clip, and then we'll discuss it. So here we go.
Bit of breaking news to bring to you right now. We've gotten word that Republican leader Mitch McConnell has taken a fall. It happened during the Senate Republican lunch today. Two medical responders were seen briefly entering the office. Afterward, they have now left. Our Jay O'Brien is on the Hill. Jay, what more do we know?
Yeah, Kira, we know essentially what you know, which is that Mitch McConnell had that fall during the weekly Senate Republican lunch. Obviously, it was in the view of the Senate Republican Conference and his colleagues. He is currently in his office. Last we were aware, he was visited briefly by two medical responders who went into his office, briefly visited with McConnell, and then left. John Thune, who's the incoming Senate Majority Leader who is taking over for McConnell, has said that McConnell is fine and that he's in his office. That is the extent of what we know of McConnell's condition after that fall. But remember, Kira, this comes after McConnell had had a series of public falls over the years. And then, of course, those two instances in which he froze up in public before television cameras. Those occurred in the summer of 2023. It was because of concerns about his age, Kira, that McConnell decided to step down from Republican leadership, which he's now done.
And we'll never forget those 2 times on live television when he literally froze in the middle of events up there on the Hill. Well, we'll hope for the best, and we'll, of course, follow up on his condition. Jay O'Brien, thank you so much.
So there you have it, folks. So that brings me to the topic du jour tonight. I want to talk about term limits. Now, I'm going to give you guys, I went down the rabbit hole and did some research on this. So, and why we need term limits. The average age of a person in Congress is roughly 61 years old. That's decent age. I mean, heck, a lot of folks are in that age group, and I'm getting there very, very rapidly. But the issue is that there are 35 senators, 74 members of the House of Representatives that are at or above retirement age. The oldest is in the Senate. His name is Chuck Grassley, 91. He has been in public service, whether in the House or in the Senate, for 49 years. Okay, keep that in mind. And in the House, Bill Pasquarelli, he is 87, and he's been doing it for 27 years. That's just insane. So, we're going to talk about a lot of things. Number one, age. We've talked about that. And yes, Jeff, it will require an amendment. I'm going to get to that. Story time with Uncle Russ. Yep, something like that. So we always talk about congressmen getting rich. Okay. The median income for a member of Congress is roughly $1 million. On average, a senator is anywhere from 2.5 to 3 million, and in the House, it can run from 500,000 to $1 million. That's pretty substantial. And yes, Grassley, he's been in office a long time. So let's see here. We'll start with my opinion on what term limits should be and that sort of thing. So let me find my note here. There it is. So Russ's proposal is there needs to be term limits, absolutely. If you're in the Senate, it's 2 6-year terms. Ha! Holy cow. All right, Caleb. Oh, you stole Caleb's. Okay, Pete, I'm just running my mouth, man. Now you got me all nervous. So, as I was saying, 2 6-year terms in the Senate, 3 2-year terms in the House. A maximum of 12 years total service combined between the two. That's Russ's opinion. So, no full pay for life. Right now, they could be in there for 2 years and they get paid $174,000 a year for the rest of their life. Unacceptable. Not happening. Let's see what else I don't want. No political junkets. Okay. Yes. For those of us that have been in the military, we have seen these congressmen come over, especially overseas, come over and they come in to see how the troops are doing. Now they're coming over to go shopping because inherently it always happens somewhere November, December, and they come over to overseas, they buy all the Christmas gifts, and then they come back home. Proof, 1986, Venice, Italy. Young E3A1C Sawyer had to guard a congressional airplane. And all they did, they never went to any of the nearby bases, and all they did was go shopping. How do I know this? Because I watched them load it all on the plane when they left. Okay, let's see what else. No lobbyists. You know, Teresa and I talked about that today. It's okay to have a lobbyist, but no money should ever change hands. None. And if they do, lobbyists, you got to get out. And here's the deal. They need to spend more time in their home state. Now, I did the research on it, and they spend about half the year, according to the research I had, in their home state. But they're getting paid twice what their home state is getting in an average. So their salaries. Salaries should be based on the U.S. average family income. U.S. average. And that's roughly $69,000 a year per capita in 2023. There you go, bullshit. I like that one. So we'll talk about the lobbyists a little bit more. Patrick Seven says lobbyists need to go. Also, I've heard politicians complain that their staff move on and become lobbyists because there's no money in being a staffer. So they don't get a lot of experience and have to rely on the lobbyists. Well, it's funny you mention staffers. So can anybody guess how many staffers there are, congressional staffers? So that includes the Senate and the House. Do you know how many there are? I'm going to give you guys a few minutes to think on that and see if anybody puts it up in chat as to what they think it is. It's actually a pretty interesting number. And that's bullshit. I'll give you guys a minute and let me catch my breath for a minute because speed suits bullshit. Thank you very much. Okay. So no one seems to know the answer, so I will give it. There's approximately 31,000 congressional staffers currently. And they make an average of $77,000 a year. Oh, it's more than two per, Patrick. That's close, Jeff. According to the research I saw, it was 31,000. Yeah, exactly, Guy. So here's Russ's pay plan for a congressman. Number one, they don't need their fancy houses in Washington because I'm going to go let them come to Washington. Let's see here. I'll be generous. There's 4 quarters in a year, 60 days a year, 15 days a quarter. The rest of the time they need to be where their constituents live, and they need to be making constituent wages. So, having said that, their current salary is $174,000, not including special cases like the Speaker of the House and Speaker, all those people. If we cut their income to $77,000 a year, that will save $105,000 per Congress member a year, or $56 million a year that can go back into our economy. And while we're at it, we're going to cut the staffers' income too. Their average income is $77,000 a year, with some senior staffers making over $100K. we're going to cap it at roughly $46,000 a year, or about 2/3 of the congressional salary. Now, here's the kicker. That will save $31,000 per staffer. So if there's 31,000 staffers and we're saving $31,000 per staffer, that will save almost $1 billion a year, $961 million. But as it was mentioned, it will need a congressional amendment to do that. Unfortunately, the 27th Amendment gets in the way. And from what I understand about the 27th, they can vote for a pay raise or a pay decrease, but it doesn't go into effect until the next cycle. And while we're at it, if we're going to give term limits to staffers, term limits to congressmen and House of Representatives, they're worried. One of the cons of it, they say, is there's a lack of continuity. Okay, I can see that. So we rotate the staffers out every third of them out every time we rotate. Every time we vote for the House or for the Congress, a third of them get rotated out. So brings in new blood. We'll go from there. Staffers definitely could be done by legislation. Yep. But as we all know, if it's going to take literally an act of Congress, we know that's not going to happen. But, and Pete's mentioned this before on the podcast, and and it was JFK who said it. I'm going to paraphrase it. Public service should be a burden. I'll say that again. Public service should be a burden. They should not be making millions of dollars from lobbyists or however stock portfolios because they get insider information. That's Russ's take on it. And then we will go back to our regularly scheduled program, and you guys can hit me up in the chat, and we'll try to run our mouth for another 35, 40 minutes. So let's see here and try to change the screen around a little bit. Getting back into, let's see what's going on in chat. Oh, that's right, Dan. They don't care. It's not their money. Absolutely. And I think, Dan, Pete's going to be getting with you next week sometime, I believe. So, yep. And again, Patrick, I agree with you. They need to be living 90% of the time with their constituents and listening to their constituents instead of listening to lobbyists and listening to people that don't have their states and their people that voted them into that spot, their best interests at heart. So, where are we going to go next, guys? Help me out here. I've just talked about everything that I needed to talk about, and we still have 20 some odd minutes. So, Pete, give me some feedback in the chat there, brother. How am I doing? Am I losing my mind? Oh, absolutely, Patrick. Absolutely. And the funny thing, about the gentleman I mentioned, evidently that dude's like a rock star when it comes to being in health, in shape and in good health. He sits there, does push-ups, pull-ups, whatever, 91 years old. And, normally when I sit here and talk to myself, people think I'm crazy, but I guess I'm not. But it was weird really digging into that rabbit hole. There were names on the list that were in the top 10 that it's just you never heard of. And then people like, let's see, Pelosi was on there. Maxine Waters was on there. And it's just weird. So what's y'all gonna leave me hanging here? There we go. Well, run the Senate was direct election of senators. Absolutely. And that's one of the things I heard. Uh, hmm, that's a good point there, Patrick. I hadn't delved into that much this week. I've had some other things I've kind of had on my mind, but we'll put this up in on the screen and we'll see if anybody wants to add into this. Anyway, says I got a subject we can talk about. Anyone else think it's weird that the Syrian army barely put up a fight? And then he goes on to say it's also as if certain politicians and military personnel knew the rebels were coming and stepped aside. Things that make you go, That's like the whole. Okay, I haven't delved into this. I've heard bits and pieces. What do you guys think's going on in New Jersey? Is it drones from Iran? Is it military? What do you guys think? Nine days to take over. See, I hadn't paid a lot of attention to international news this week. I needed a break from it. Um, okay, a lot of the footage from New Jersey has come out when analyzed as planes and helicopters. I heard somebody said that it was Iran and China and they have a mothership. I mean, who knows? What are we in Star Trek now? And I agree with you there. See, there's a couple of comments. You guys are killing the comments now. Ed says that one of them needs to be shot down and see exactly who it is. And if they don't, and that's just it. If they hadn't shot it down yet, then I would hasten to think that it's U.S. and it's the military trying something new. That's Russ's thought. Because if it's up in New Jersey, that's near Fort Dix, and they used to have a lot. That's where a lot of the military blimps and stuff used to come out of back in World War II era. I went up there one time to teach a class, and I got to have the little tour. Okay, now see, I hadn't heard that, Patrick. FAA regulated lice, not FFA. We're not talking about the future farmers of America. Larry Dahl in the house. Larry, are you going to make it to Mountain Readiness this year? You have to, now that Patrick's coming. I mean, if Patrick's coming, then there's no excuse for anybody else. So, but we're going to have a good time. They got a lot of good people over there at Mountain Readiness. Yes, dear, I threw that in just for you. Okay, Larry, that's right. You are up there, so you actually saw them. What's your opinion? I'd like to know. Nick Meacher in the house. So, Nick, we're talking about these drones over Jersey. You got any intel on this, man? Share it with us. Oh, that's right, Larry. You and I talked about that. Larry will be at Mountain Readiness on Sunday, if I'm correct, Larry. And then he's going to join the Eden Army and Pete over there doing Pete's pistol course and then Troy's Gate. So there's a lot of folks here in chat that we're actually going to get to meet for the first time. Yep. So, Nick, there's a question for you, Nick. Dan says he saw a post from you about the technology outages in the same area, but as the drones were sighted, but it was as if he thought there was a coincidence, but he didn't think so. It still seems strange. I don't know. To me, it's odd. You know, I've been to Roswell. there wasn't a whole lot there. It's a tourist trap. Maybe once this government changes and we start getting all these files, maybe they'll finally release all of the Area 51 files. Well, that's a good point, Patrick. If it is, I guess maybe they could be. Let me see how I want to put this. They're okay. So let me think about how I want to rephrase to your question while Nick says up here. So there have been no reported incidents or impacts from the drones, no tech outages, were meta applications, and worldwide no relationship. Okay. Yep. And I think that's kind of what I'm trying to say, Patrick, is normalizing it or just getting the reaction of the people to see what their reaction is. I mean, most of us know that a lot of the testing on especially new aircraft and stuff like that happens out in Nevada, Tonopah, White Sands Missile Range, places like that. That's pretty much unclassified except for what they're actually building out there anymore. So, and so, yeah, that's what I think. I don't think they're testing the cell jamming technology. Nick, you could possibly, he says there's been no tech outages in those areas when the drones are there. Yes, we did suffer that meta application outage yesterday, and that was pretty much worldwide. It definitely affected us over here, which is not very far from most of you guys. Well, you guys are trying to get me to pull stuff out of my behind tonight. Okay, so Nick, being the person in the know, says, last he saw, DoD said they have not been asked to help. They have the tech to bring them down. I also heard that they haven't been able to associate frequencies that would control the drone. That is strange. And that is kind of strange. Either that, then there comes a time, now we start to tighten up the tin foil, and are they using some other type of way to control the drone? And now they're testing it to see if they can find the frequencies that control the drone. Inquiring minds want to know. So this could be kind of interesting to see how this plays out. But a GPU person inside of it controlling it, or they got a 5,000-foot extension cord. Yep. There you go. I got to put this one up. Not being able to detect the frequencies make me think that it's either GPS programmed, there's a person inside of it controlling it, or there's a 5,000-foot extension cord. But a GPS program, that's what we're talking about, Will. Stay awake and off your meds and you'll catch it. That's what we're talking about, brother. Got to mess with you a little bit. But GPS still uses radio frequencies. I don't know. That's out of my scope of experience. I know it uses satellite communications, GPS does, so it could be interesting. We'll have to wait and see. Yep. I know that, Patrick. He says the Russians are using hardwired drones with their fiber optic lines. Yep. And GPS would receive and not transmit. Okay. You'll have to send me that video if you get a hold of it, Nick, and we'll throw it up here one day. Maybe next Thursday. So what else is in the news, guys? We know that we have given a $40 million or $50 million loan to Ukraine. They're calling it a loan this time. So yet again, they're doing everything they can to spend as much money as they can prior to Trump taking office. So who knows? We just got to make it to January 20th. That's interesting. I didn't see that. But then again, I have not been on social media today. I've actually been quite busy putting this together, putting a lot of these other things together. So I'll have to look into the pardons, and maybe we'll cover that next week. When Pete gets back, if he hurry, he needs to put that boat into overdrive and come back and save my behind. But it is what it is, folks. We are doing well on time. Got a bunch of folks on Kick. I'm glad to see everybody's over on Kick. How many people do we have over there now? Let me see if I can find the stats. Oh, wow. No, it's not showing. Now Pete will have to look it up. Well, Nick, I hope you like that Starling Mini. The one reason that I didn't go with the Mini is because of the restriction on the amount of data. With the regular one, we get unlimited data, which doing the podcast and stuff like that, it's definitely going to help. So, according to Patrick and Mama Therese, they said one of the people that Biden pardoned was a Chinese photographer, a person of Chinese origin, and he was into child pornography. And according to Patrick Seven, he said he talked to NC Scout about it, and they think that he didn't have the child pornography for pleasure, but for planting evidence for blackmail. Interesting. All right, Ed. Hey, give me a call later this weekend, brother. Go do hero shit. Well, and Nick says he got 2 more Rapid Radios and got a Swamp Rat group set up. So anyone that has a Rapid Radio wants to join, let him know. I got 2 Baofangs, the 10-watt ones, and I'm going to try to sit down this weekend and program them. So we're going to go back to, okay, you can get it unlimited now. Okay. Are you going to hook it up to your truck so you can drive and have Wi-Fi in your truck with it? Yeah, exactly. Still think the Biden crime family doesn't have ties to China. Yeah. Well, I said throughout the primaries and all the debates and everything running up to the election that Biden, we all said it, Biden was playing chess, 4D chess. And the Democrats were playing Chinese checkers. 1,500 people today. Holy cow. Okay. Well, I think the Doge is going to take care of this one for us, hopefully, Corey. I'm going to put this up here, guys. Corey brought up a good point. The Department of Education spent over $1 billion promoting DEI in America's schools. A very $489 million for race-based hiring, $343 million for DEI programming, $169 million for DEI mental health initiatives. Unbelievable. They're spending all this money, but that's okay. I do believe the department, the Doge, will come out and take care of a lot of that. Hopefully, they'll see this podcast and take my advice on cutting at least the staffers' pay. If their government officials only going to have to be there 60 days a year, The staffers don't need to be there 365. They can commute as well. Let's see. Nick says direct to satellite with Starlink. It's been no sell, but put on truck. I'll need to get one of the cases. Well, Nick, do you have a sunroof in there, correct? Go to I think it's Starlink for beginners or something like that on Facebook. There's a ton of mounting suggestions on how to mount that Starlink. Yeah, I think there's going to be a lot of downsizing in our current government and in some of the stuff that we spend money on. Patrick just said that Trump had a meeting with Lockheed Martin or whoever it is that makes the F-35, which is a piece of shit, and told him he was going to cut funding to it because of the DEI and wasteful spending. One little nut or washer that is made by one specific company and nobody else is like $3,000 per little nut or washer or whatever it was. I saw that somewhere a couple of weeks ago. And I agree with you, Bullshite, 100%. No more IRS. 100%. 100%. And P obviously popped in real quick and then left. He's either that or he's staying quiet. No ATF. I agree with that. So let's talk about that. I was going to bring it up a little bit today, but I didn't want to get too involved in it. The CEO shooting we talked about last week, and all you've heard about is ghost gun. It was a ghost gun. It was a ghost gun. Ghost gun. Well, ghost guns are legal. Ghost silencers are not. That's an NFA item. You know? And the funniest one I saw out of all that, besides the booking photo that had Luigi from Mario Kart on there, was Burger King with a sign that says we're not snitches. So I think you're right, Jeff. He may end up he might very well end up being a patsy on it. It is just weird the way it's coming down. And you know, we also had the Daniel Penny verdict come out, found not guilty, and immediately BLM came out calling for violence, calling for black people to be vigilantes. And I don't believe they got the response that they thought they were going to get. There hasn't been a ton of protests. There was no burning, looting, rioting in the streets. A couple of people, only one person got arrested after they did this right outside of the courthouse in New York City. But the New York NYPD broke it up pretty quick. And you haven't heard anything else. So either they are not going to do anything because they didn't get the groundswell of support that they thought they were going to get, or they were just testing the waters and we need to keep our head on a swivel, which of course I think we need to keep our head on a swivel. And they may have Terry calling for protests this weekend. I haven't seen or heard. I haven't been over on the major news source for me anymore, X. I haven't been on X too much today. I looked at it briefly this morning, but other than that, I've been doing everything else. So I don't know. You hear such a lot of different okay, so Nick says he saw a bunch of notifications about protests this weekend. He'll have to look. He was too busy at work to do it at this time. So Yeah. There's no funding. So I think Russ's opinion. Um, yes, BLM wants to do something, but they're waiting for that funding to come in, which all this funding that they get, they haven't done anything according to their charter yet. You know, they're just waiting on the money to roll in. But if it's not running, if the money doesn't come in, that means the people that were funding them are evidently scared shitless of the new incoming president, which I think that's quite possibly a lot of what it is. They blew all their money on logistics support for the Palestinian protests. Absolutely. And then it was wild when if you watch the footage after the verdict was announced, you didn't see what you would expect to see at a Black Lives Matter rally. All you saw was a bunch of white 20-somethings running around, which is, I guess, what we come to expect. That's interesting, Corey. So going back to J6, let's see what we got here. The FBI had 26 confidential human sources at the Capitol on January 6th, including 4 who entered the Capitol building and 13 who entered the restricted area around the Capitol, according to a just released DOJ Inspector General report. Interesting. And Patrick, 100%. That's only confidential ones. They didn't say how many undercover agents there were, and that's only one department. So, guys, it's going to get weird before it gets weirder. We all know this. It is what it is. So, it is what it is. So, let's just, we've been on about, yep. And yes, I think he resigned so he could keep his pension, because if he'd have gotten fired, he'd have lost his pension. And that's just Russ's opinion on it. And this will be my one and only solo podcast. This is just way too much stress. I wasn't as prepared as I thought I would be, and I do apologize for that. Okay, so is this confirmed, Patrick? Is this confirmed? Because the last I saw on that, they were talking about putting Camel Toe as the person of the year. And I just couldn't see that happening. Okay, so Mama Teresa says it is confirmed. So good. That is well deserved. That is definitely well deserved. I felt that either him or Elon would have both been well deserved. So guys, you guys got to change the subject up. Let's get off politics and let's talk about something else for the last 10 minutes, because Russ really doesn't like politics. I'm getting better at it, but I don't like talking about it. It gives me a migraine. And I'm almost out of bourbon. So those of you that are coming to Return to Eden in February, is going to have a good time. We're going to have a good time. Oh, that's what you're doing, Corey. You're cheating. Corey says he's trolling his X feed, looking for things to chuck in the chat. So let's talk about something that we've never talked about on the Eden Army podcast before. And it may not be something that anybody on here other than myself even thinks about. How screwed up is the college football playoffs? That's Russ's question to finish the evening. and I've stumped the audience. So obviously, they moved to a 12 team system this year, and it is what it is. But I think foosball is the devil. You know, they got it wrong in a couple of cases. Um, they said that Joe were going to go off strength of schedule, which they obviously didn't. But so I sat back and thought about that the other day, and they need to go to a 24 team single elimination. Yes, you have, my dear, because it's important to me. 24 team system, they can still use the same bowl games. It'll screw up the money, but hey, you play to earn money at the bowl games. If you end up getting more than one, that means you're playing good. That's just Russ's 2 cents. So that's my total off the wall, out of the normal thing to talk about. What else we want to talk about, folks? We got about 9 minutes. And then I'm bailing. I had Nick, I see Nick over there, get your comments playing together. I had a interesting conversation with my nephew today. Um, for those of you that don't know, he is currently at the Citadel. He is going to be an Army second lieutenant come May in the Signal Corps, and you will stay until we release you. But we were talking about PACE plans, and he's got him and a couple of his Citadel buddies are going to be camping out on the back 40 here tonight, this weekend. They're going to freeze their butt off is what they're going to do, because it's going to be 18 degrees. And I was asking questions, and I was basically, and I mentioned a PACE plan for if it gets too cold, all that kind of stuff. And he goes, PACE, that's comms. And I said, no, that's not just comms. PACE can be used for anything. And we kind of rattled through that. Give him a map and compass as a graduation gift. But, I mentioned this because, well, that's the last thing I wanted to talk about. So Teresa and I ran up to Harmony this past weekend to pick up the Daltons from Gahagan Customs. And as it would happen, Wes with Rally Point ST was teaching a class. He was teaching low-vis convoy operations. And we got to hang out with him. Shane and Beth were cooking for the weekend. Crystal, who's not in here tonight, and I'm upset. Hold your thought, Dan. Crystal from Connecticut was there. We're going through the class, so we got to spend some time and hanging out with them. Got to see bits and pieces of the class. If you get a chance to go to any of Wes's classes, he's a really good instructor. And the class was eye-opening, what I gleaned from it. I know they'll be doing a class in March up in Harmony, and then he will also be teaching at Mountain Readiness as well. And Dan, you hadn't been here for a couple weeks. I bought Pete sent me a couple of the Magellan shirts, and I got the Eden Army logo embroidered on it for him. And this hat was sitting on the counter when I went to drop the shirts off, and I was like, can I buy the hat? And they're like, well, sure. I said, good, I want this logo on it. And so this is currently a one-off, but if you guys are interested in these hats, let me know. And let Pete know, so he can get the crowbar or the jaws of life out of his wallet, so we can order some of these hats, and we'll have them. Hopefully, maybe we'll have them for Mountain Readiness. Mike, welcome to the show. All you get is me tonight, man. Sorry. Pete is halfway between here, Honduras, and Miami. He's supposed to be home on Saturday, I believe. So, Dan, I hope that answered your question. Yeah, there's going to be some interesting. I'm way better than work. Yep. Currently this is a one-off. And speaking of one-offs, hold your thought. And yes, I am professional and I'm in my pajama bottoms, so deal with it. So I have two one-off hats. I'm that's how I roll. That's how I roll. Oh. Well, thank you, Matt. Hopefully, Pete will get back into the writing mood, which I'm sure he's going through withdrawals, and get back to writing so we can put you back to work. Yes, I am a show-off guy, and yes, Dan, I do believe, Dan, didn't you do this hat? I believe Dan did that hat, and then I absconded with it as soon as I saw it. So it is what it is. Oh, there's the mama. She made it over here. Well, guys, it's been 56 minutes and counting. I haven't talked this much straight in a long time. And I'm ready for bed. So, guys, as I always say, you know, we always talk about community. And that's what, I mean, guys, thank you for putting up with me tonight. And I appreciate it. Hopefully I did Pete justice. I'm sure he will critique the heck out of it, which is fine. I got thick skin. I'm okay with it. But this is what our community is about, guys. Picking up each other, helping each other. You notice we promoted, you know, Alan Kay. We promoted Mountain Rangers. We promoted Angry American in the Dalton with the Survivalist Sam book. We promoted Franklin Horton. You know, that's what we do. All ship, when the tide rises, all ships rise. But guys, remember, you have a birth date and an end date. Let's worry about the dash. With that, we'll see you next week.
Thanks for watching the Eden Army podcast. Don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button. And remember, be safe. Can't be safe. Be dangerous.